Hello everyone, it's Peggy. Welcome. We're here for an open Q&A for anyone who has any questions that are related to being an author, becoming an author, being a successful author, and doing work that you deeply love, and making money, which I suspect many of you have a desire to do. Now, I've had a number of questions that were submitted before the call started today, before the live call. If you're on the live call and you're watching right now, you can submit your question to answers@peggymccall.com. Answers@peggymccall.com. Now, one of the things that I found with the questions that have been pouring in today is that there are a lot of the same questions, a lot of similar questions. And so if you don't hear me say your name or answer a specific question that you asked, just know that I am intending to answer all the questions that were submitted. And yours was probably similar to another question, and I'm definitely going to be answering it. But if you're watching this live, not the recording, but the live version, which is right now, here we are at 2:01 Eastern Standard Time on March the 1st, then you can send your question in within the next little while, and I'll add it to my questions, and I'll watch for my emails. So answers@peggymccall.com. Okay, so let me get started. I'm just going to go over to my question page here because I have already posted a whole bunch of questions that have been, oh, there we go. Okay, Tom has a question. Okay, Tom, I see yours just came in. I'm going to answer it in a minute. Okay, so here's a question that came in from Lennox. And Lennox's question is, what are your thoughts on the necessity of obtaining release forms from book endorsees? Okay, Lennox, great question. So what Lennox is asking is, if you've ever looked at a book and you see there's endorsements, right? Somebody said something about that book. So he's asking, do you need a legal release form to use their words, the words that they have sent to you to endorse your book? Do you need to have them sign a release form? The answer is no. If you've made the request, let's say you made it by email or you made it in the regular mail or you made it in person, just make sure it's in writing somewhere, whether they've written something and signed it or whether they've sent you an email with the words and they are good to go. And it's very clear in the communication what you intend to use the endorsement for. And speaking of that, when you are making requests to others to endorse your book, be very clear on where you intend to use the endorsement. For example, if you plan to use the endorsement on the back of the book, inside the book, on your website, on Amazon.com, or somewhere else, please let them know where you're going to be using the endorsement, okay? So the short answer to your question, Lennox, is no, you don't need to obtain a release form as far as I'm aware. Okay, now I'm not a legal authority, but I'm definitely a book authority. Okay, so let's see here. Next question. When does your next bestseller moneymaker program begin? Okay, it's Bestseller Moneymakers, Janet, and you can go to go to bestsellermoneymakers.com. There's a link right on the page that you're on. If you're watching this, there's a link right there, and you can sign up. It starts tomorrow, March 2nd, and you can sign up today. The registration is closing at midnight tonight. Okay, so that's where you sign up. Next question is from Robin. How to start to get your book done in your mind onto paper? What is the easy format if you are not great at getting things down on paper? How do you start the book? Okay, what I would suggest is use a computer, because you sent me the email, so I suspect you have one, or you can use an electronic device, or if that doesn't work for you, here's something that I do. I have something called voice notes on my iPhone. And this usually happens, I'll be driving or I'll be out somewhere and I'll think of something that I want to do or get done, and I'll just leave a voice text. So you can leave yourself voice text. If you're starting to think about the idea for your book and you're not someone that likes to write things down, or you're going to ultimately have to write it down or type it. But if not, you can record everything and get it transcribed. There's a transcription service. But the thing is, when I hear a question like that, I think, stop saying to yourself that you're not good at getting people down on paper, right? That's a paradigm. That's going to continue to block you from actually getting the results that you want. It's not complicated. It's easy, in fact. You just have to start. It's like Don Shula said, it's in the start that stops most people. So get started. Grab a sheet of paper today or open up a Word document or whatever word processing software you use and start to write some notes now, right? Just get started is really how you start. Not complicated, actually pretty darn easy, as I said. All right, and get a copy of the book Darn Easy. That's my 10th book, because you'll realize how we tend to make things harder for ourselves than they need to be. Okay, next question is, George is asking, what's involved in a digital book becoming a New York Times bestseller, i.e. number of copies needed to be sold, and in what time frame, and where does it need to be listed? Okay, George, good question. Now, I know George, and George is from Canada. He's from Toronto, in fact. And if you want your book to be a New York Times e-bestseller, then it must be selling online in the United States. Okay, so it must be selling on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com as a Kindle book, or as a Nook book. Okay, so it must be an ebook that's selling on one of the New York Times reporting agencies in order to be considered. Okay, that's the first thing. That's not that complicated, right? You can upload your own book onto the Kindle if you want, through Kindle publishing. Okay, so once your ebook is available online for sale in the United States, then you must sell thousands and thousands and thousands of copies within a period of 1 week. Now, how many exactly? There's no number. The reason is the way that the New York Times calculates the bestsellers on the New York Times list, on the New York Times bestseller list, is based on books sold between Saturday and Saturday. So depending on what books are selling and how many copies they're selling and in which genre they happen to be, in other words, which category the book happens to be in, then it would be based on that. So you want to be selling, I would set a target of selling, let's say for ebook, you probably want to set a target to sell at least 7,000 books in a period of 1 week on Amazon.com as a Kindle book. Okay, and that would probably set you up a pretty good chance of your book getting on the New York Times bestseller ebook list. Now that's one of the bestseller lists for the New York Times that they just opened up a few years ago. So you can still become a New York Times bestseller by offering an ebook rather than a physical book. Okay. Now I know there's more and more people that are joining the call as I'm doing the call, and if you want to submit your questions, just send them in to answers@peggymccall.com. If your question has already been answered, I'll reference it and I'll let you know that you can go back to the beginning of this call if you didn't get on when we started, and you can get the answer to your question. I have a bunch of questions here already, and that's what I'm doing. I'm answering them as they're coming in, and as more and more are coming in, I'll answer those as well. Okay, so I just want to check, make sure they're all appropriate here. Okay, Tom has a question. Okay, he says, most authors can only expect small advances these days, right? Then once accepted, and by the way, I'd say no, wrong, but let me elaborate on that. Okay. Then once accepted, the mainstream and most other publishers will expect the author to lion's share of the market promotion right. So for a writer who knows enough about internet marketing or willing to learn, why wouldn't it be more prudent and profitable to self-publish? You're absolutely right. If it's a hit, mainstream will make it bigger offer, and much of the marketing is already done. What you say, guru of the word. Right on. Okay, Tom, great question. So here's the thing. Yes, you as an author are going to be required to do the marketing, whether you're going with a publishing house or not going with a publishing. So yeah, it does make sense to self-publish your book these days. That's why most authors are self-publishing, and publishers aren't paying advances like they used to. They might pay small advances or some advances, but rarely are advances paid these days, and rarely are big advances paid these days. And so, yes, you've got to be doing the marketing, and since you're doing the marketing anyways, why not make most of the money? The advantages, and I teach this in the Stick a Fork in It, My Book is Done program, the advantages of going with a publishing house is that it sometimes appears more prestigious. It's like I can say, Darn Easy was published by McGraw-Hill, and sometimes that sounds impressive. It may give more credibility, but does it really mean anything financially? Well, I'll probably make less money because I've gone that way, because I'm doing the marketing for the book anyways. The other advantage to publishers is that quite often publishers have distribution already set up in a multitude of options. For example, Hay House has published 4 of my books, and Hay House has offices all over the world, and they sell to book clubs, and they sell to different organizations that buy large quantities of books, and they've got connections with foreign rights publishers. So that's a tremendous advantage. Another advantage to go with Hay House as an author is that they have live events. And as a Hay House author, I've spoke at many of their live events. Another advantage to going with Hay House as an author is that they have a radio show, and I've been on the radio show as a guest many times, and I have my own radio show on the Hay House radio show channel over and over and over again. Okay, so definitely the answer is yes, Tom. So thank you for asking the question. Okay, cool. Okay, Rick, I see you're on here. All right, great. So is this, all right, cool. All right, so Rick got in. Okay, good, Rick. I'm glad that you're here. Okay, Rick, actually, for those of you who are watching this, Rick's in my other program, my annual program called the Elite Circle of Influence. So, Rick, you have access to me quite often in all of our classes to answer any questions. But you're wondering if anyone has any suggestions for free giveaways for fiction novel. Okay, so this is a Q&A for Peggy. So my suggestion is, now this is a good question. I want to answer this, even though Rick is in my other programs, and we can dive deeper into this, Rick, as we go along. But let me just, let's just talk a little bit about what Rick's referring to here. When you're launching your book, and there's a formula for that, and that's what I go over in the Bestseller Moneymakers program. I'm actually starting tomorrow. So the first 6 classes, there's like 90-minute webinars, so there's several hours of content where I'm going to talk about launching your book and promoting it online. So part of what I'm going to be discussing there is creating an exceptional offer when you're launching it. Now, don't get mistaken here. Don't take a little bit of information and think you got it all figured out, because I think that can be a little bit dangerous. And I've seen some people do it, and I've done it with other things in the past where I didn't get the right knowledge and direction that was really required in order to get the answers that I need. But just to respect Rick and answer the question, the thing is, when you are promoting your book and you're following what I'm teaching, what I'm promoting and giving in the step-by-step program of the Bestseller Moneymakers, it is important that you come up with some kind of a valuable offering that makes sense to your readers, okay? Think about that. It must make sense to the readers. It doesn't have to make sense for the book or be in alignment with the book. It has to make sense for the readers. So when you're thinking about what could I create or what could I offer that makes sense for my readers, you think about your reader. Now, let me give you a simple example. And this applies for fiction too. So don't use a block in your mind thinking, well, this doesn't work for fiction. Absolutely, it works for fiction. It doesn't matter what the book is. So when I was launching my 11th book, which I just launched on Friday, called The Last Diet Book Ever. Okay, now let me show you. I'm going to do a little share screen. First of all, let me get it up on my screen, and then I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Now, this isn't, Rick, this isn't an example for fiction, but I'm going to relate to fiction so that you have a really good understanding. Okay, now let me go back over here, and I'm going to go share screen so I can show you what I'm talking about here. Okay, so share. Okay, guys, here we are. You're looking at my screen. Now, here's a book that I launched last Friday. It's called The Last Diet Book Ever. So what I did was, now the book's available on Amazon.com, and people can go to Amazon.com and they can buy this book. But thinking about my readers, I'm thinking, what would they really love? What would be valuable to my readers? So a visualization practice of seeing yourself thin and being thin was something that I came out with. I created as a webinar, and I offered it as a bundle. Then I created something called Love Yourself, Love Your Body, because you know what? A lot of challenges that people have with weight issues is related to how they feel about themselves. So I created something like that. Then another thing I created was something called pre-sleep moments for ideal body weights, because the moments we're about to drift off into sleep is really determining what's showing up in our life. So I'm helping people really pre-program their minds to be at their ideal body weight. And then I have a utility or a resource called How to Properly Set Weight Goals. And then I include it with an audio affirmation that they can listen to. And then I include a whole bunch of affirmations, like a heaping helpful affirmations in this collection of affirmations that anybody can use. So let's relate it back to Rick's question. Okay, I'm going to stop the screen share. Stop the screen sharing. There we go. Back to presenting to everyone. Okay. So when you're launching a book, now, as I said, this is what I go over very extensively in the Bestseller Moneymakers. When you're launching a book, you've got to be thinking about your audience. So for someone who's writing a novel, like Rick is writing a novel, you have to think about who's reading your novel. Is it women? Is it women between the age of 40 and 65? Or is it men between the age of whatever? And I mean, you have to know your audience, right? So you think about who's going to be reading your book. and then think, what could you create or you offer that might be valuable to them? Okay, what knowledge do you have? What experience do you have? What awareness do you have? What skills do you have? What strategies do you know? What could you create that actually could end up being some kind of a bonus offering or a bundle that could provide exceptional value for people for buying the novel that would likely push them over the edge to make an immediate buying decision to buy the book as soon as they see, there we go, snap the fingers, as soon as they see your offer, okay? All right, now more and more questions are pouring in here as they're coming along, so I'm going to keep going. Got a lot of questions to answer. Okay, does the agent you get matter? Editors that align, it seems do. Does an agent? Editors that align it. Okay, so the English isn't good there. Maybe you typed that so fast. Okay, so let me answer the first part of that question. I have no idea what the second part means there, Nancy, but let me answer the first part of the question, okay? All right, doesn't the agent you get matter? Now, let me just give a little bit of preface here for anyone who's wondering what is an agent, etc. Okay, so an agent is a literary agent. That's somebody who's going to sell your book idea to a publisher. And first of all, anyone who's watching this, getting a literary agent is something you need to know. You're welcome, Rick. Is something you need to know how to do, okay? First of all, if you're thinking of getting a publisher, you must first get a literary agent. And the literary agent, absolutely, it matters. You want somebody who knows how to get results, somebody who has great contacts in the industry, and somebody who absolutely loves your work and believes in whatever it is that you're doing. Now, if you're looking for an agent to promote your book to a publisher, you must be ready before you even contact that agent. What do you have to be ready for? Well, you got to be ready with a solid marketing plan and prove that you're the author who's going to be promoting and selling thousands and thousands of these books. Literary agents look for the exact same thing a publisher looks for. They look for an author that has a phenomenal book idea, perhaps something unique, not something different. I'm just talking about a unique spin on it, and somebody who already has a solid revenue plan. That's what I teach on how to market your books, and they know how to do it in today's age. You know what? It's different. Now, I was talking to someone just before we got on the call today, and I was talking about marketing books. You know, just a few years ago, Reed Tracy from Hay House hired me. He flew me into Carlsbad, California to teach his marketing team how to market books online, the method that I was using. Well, you know what? It's changed. It's changed. It's different today than what it was. And so I'm constantly, like I spent 12 hours last weekend studying new methods, applying new methods, because how you market your book today is critically important. Now, the great news is you can do it from the comfort of your home. I'm sitting in my home. You're probably sitting in yours, and you can do it from anywhere. So anyways, it's a little went off a little bit on Nancy's question there, but absolutely your agent matters. I would say yes, yes, yes. Okay. Okay, Bruce, hey Bruce, good to see you're here. Bruce says, do all publishers offer live events? Is there a list of those that do and those that don't? If you are self-publishing, should you be planning live events as part of your marketing plan? Okay, great question. Okay, I love that Bruce is asking that question. So do other publishers have live events? Honestly, I don't know. I suspect not. I'm not familiar with any that do. I'm not saying they don't, but I suspect that they don't. All right, they may. But if I was to provide you with a list of the publishers that I'm aware of that offer live events, Hay House would be the only name that's on it. And they're a great publisher. Then Bruce asked, you know, should creating a live event be part of your launch? Maybe. Not necessarily. You see, I don't think there's a one size fits all for all authors. And I think that's a big part of the challenge here. You've got to create your own formula for success, following a multitude of different options. Now, Bruce, I know you and you're a phenomenal speaker. So you doing an event and you live in a great city, you know, where there's a couple million people, right? So, but for somebody who's not a great speaker, not a great communicator, you know, might not be something that they want to do. Plus, live events, you got to be very careful. I'm going to teach this as well in the Bestseller Moneymakers program. You got to be very careful with doing live events. They can be a money suck and a time suck too. So you want to do live events in a way that's very profitable and contributes to your bottom line, and it brings great value. And if you're looking to sell some books, well, sure, you could do that too. Okay, so I would say, you know, yes to doing live events, but they've got to be done right. And for those of you who are listening, okay, so somebody has just sent in a question saying, I hear you talking about what you teach in your course. Okay, so I teach a course called, you see it right there on the link below. Just go down there, Bestseller Money Makers. It's content rich. I'm going to be delivering a lot of content on marketing your books and making money doing what you love. Okay, let me just keep going with the questions here. Okay. What's involved? Okay. All right. Oh, that one was already answered. Okay, Jacqueline, you asked the same question as I answered a minute ago. Oh, wait a minute. Did she? Oh, I think I got that one. Okay. Here's a question. Oh, I like this question. This is Dorley. She had asked this question. My question for you would be, is it possible to become a best-selling author at any age, or is it mostly achieved by younger authors? Okay, well, I'm 57, and I work with authors that are up in their 90s. So, and I've worked with authors that are in their 20s. I work with teens, actually, too. And I think I had a 7-year-old author one time. I worked with her mom. Any age. The answer is any age. Okay, great. Okay, have I shot myself in the foot by asking someone else to co-author? No, absolutely not. I co-authored a book with Brian Proctor. It was a very, very wonderful experience. Do you do private consultations? Yes, I do. How much is it? Okay, go to peggymccall.com, my website, and look for one-on-one mentoring, and you can see it right there. It's not always available, though. So if anyone's looking at this, you're saying, you know what, I'd rather just have you teach me or you guide me. I don't always have spots available. There are right now, but it's probably going to close off soon. I'm getting pretty darn busy. Okay, what's next here? What are you teaching in the Bestseller Moneymakers, and does it apply to any book? Yes. Yes, what I'm teaching in the Bestseller Moneymakers is really for any author, whether you're a fiction author, nonfiction, whether it's your first book or your 25th book. Okay, I mentor authors that have written 25 books, 33 books. So it doesn't matter if you're on your first book, you haven't even written it yet. So the Bestseller Moneymakers, go to bestsellermoneymakers.com and you'll get a really good idea of what's involved. We're starting live classes tomorrow, and so registration's closing out soon. We're shutting it down. And I'm going to teach people how to make their book. First of all, how to write it, how to publish it, how to self-publish it, then how to make it a bestseller, and then how to make money extending beyond your book into revenue sources. Again, whether you're fiction or nonfiction. Okay, so that's what we're doing in that. All right. I have started writing, this is Dorothy, I've started writing an ebook on proper food combining for good health. How successful are ebooks? And there is a system to follow to get them on Amazon. Yes, Dorothy, there absolutely is. And that's what I teach. So let me answer that. That's a really good question. I'm glad Dorothy's asking this question, because I think it's not only applicable to what Dorothy's asking, it might be something that a lot of people are wondering. Because the question that I get, and this was a question that came in from a few people, is should I do an ebook or a physical book or both? And it's like, whatever you want. You can do both if you want. You can do, it's easy. It's easy to do either version or both versions. So you have to decide, what is it that you want? For example, the last diet book ever is a book that's now available on Amazon.com. That's my 11th book I just released. And I made that in a physical form only, not ebook. And there's a reason for it, because there's like a message. There's one fundamental message in that book that when you read it, you'll get it, right? And so I decided not to release it as an ebook. Now, will I later release it as an ebook? Maybe. Can I release it later as an ebook? Yes. And you know what? A lot of people are buying ebooks now. It's probably about half and half. The numbers are always changing. You know, ebooks, people reading ebooks. You see people, you go to an airport, right? Sit in a waiting room and you see people with their iPads or their laptops and their Nooks or whatever reading device they're using, or the Kindle, that's what they're called, right? Those little Kindle readers. And so people are reading books electronically all the time. So especially if you have something like that. Now the advantage to doing ebooks is that you can put links in back to your website. And I talk about that in the course as well. You know, the advantage of doing that. You put links back to your website so you can drive traffic there and get people to go there, because they're very likely going to want more of what you have, especially if you're doing something like food combining for good health. That's a great subject, popular subject, Dorothy. You're in a great place. Okay, here's a question that Jay asked. Jay also is one of my programs. I answered her by email. She's already got the answer, but I decided to have this question in this Q&A call, so that others, in case somebody else had asked the question as well. Okay. All right. So when I went into CreateSpace, they didn't offer me an option for creating an ebook. So what is the process for this? Is it simpler and easier than publishing a paperback? Okay, great. Well, here's the thing with Create Space. You can use Create Space to self-publish your book, and that's exactly what I did with the help of my sister from Hasmark Publishing for the last diet book ever. She basically put it up through Create Space, and the book's up there. And I can put it into a Kindle version if I want, now that it's a physical book. But if you only want to do your book as an ebook, then you can use Kindle Publishing. Okay, so it's called KDP, Kindle Publishing, or KPD, Kindle Publishing Direct. So you can publish and just do a search on Google, Kindle Publishing Direct, and you'll be able to follow that along and get your book published. Okay, does Create Space and assign an ISBN number? Yes, they do. And what about layout? You could use my sister's company. It's called Hasmark Publishing. Just reach out to Judy. It's Judy@hasmarkpublishing.com, Judy@hasmarkpublishing.com, and she can help you with any part of completing your book, whether it's editing, layout, cover, uploading it to make it available online. She can do all of that. She's basically a self-publishing publishing arm. Okay. Once your final draft is complete, how much work and time investment is required from that point to reach the bestseller status? Is it truly possible to have a 100K a year career by writing and selling books only? And if so, how many books do you need to write each year? Why only 2 payment options? Is your teaching and coaching very specific as a step-by-step process that you need to follow in order to become a best-selling author? Okay, Daniel. All right, so let me answer Daniel's questions one by one. So the first one is, once your final draft is complete, how much work and time investment is required from that point to reach the bestseller status? Well, it depends on you, Daniel. I'm going to give you the formula, and you can launch it within a matter of weeks if you want, or you could take months. It really is up to you. I'd say the shortest time frame that I've seen anybody put into play what I teach, well, actually, I've made my book a bestseller in 24 hours. So you can do it in as little 24 hours if you know what to do. And of course, that's what I'm going to be teaching in the program. Or if you're brand new to it, you're probably looking at maybe a couple months. That would be realistic if you're working it. And I'm not talking about working it at part-time, but you need to be working it. Now, Daniel's asking a really great question here. Fix my earplugs. It's like I'm plugging my ears. With regard to the money-making part of it. And this is really key. I want everyone to listen to this. Is it truly possible to have a 100K a year career by writing and selling books only? And if so, how many books do you need to write each year? Okay, it's not how many books you need to write. You could write 100 books a year and it won't make a hill of beans. You'll probably end up in expense only. It's how many do you need to sell? Now, if you're selling books and you're looking to promote books and you're selling like an ebook. So let's say, for example, the last diet book ever sold 100,000 copies this year, and I was making $1 a book. I'd make $100,000, right? But if I'm self-published and I'm making $5 a book, then I don't have to sell 100,000. I have to sell 20,000 books. So you get, it's different. It's variable. It's a variable. It depends on how much money you're making and how many books you're selling. Is it possible? Sure, it's possible. But I open people's eyes to where big opportunities are and where real solid opportunities are in the money making, in the bestseller money makers, because I get into extending beyond the book, into creating real sources of income. Just before we got on this call today, I was on the phone with a young guy who's not even 30 years of age yet. Not even 30 years of age. He's 29. And since he started doing online marketing, he's made about $8 million. So that was, I think, 5 years ago. Now, how many 29-year-olds do you know that are making $8 million a year? Or not a year, actually, I didn't say a year. 8 million in like 5 years. Like, not many, right? It's got to be a tiny, tiny percentage. If you took 100, I doubt 1, right? So probably less than 1% of all, young people between the age of 20 and 30 are making that kind of money. But it's with specialized knowledge. And that's what really is key here. What's really important is not, what you know. It's knowing what to do in a specific order of things in order to get the results that you want. Is it possible to make 100 grand a year? It's possible to make 100 grand in an hour. It's possible to make 100 grand this month if you wanted to. Absolutely. The opportunity is endless. This is what I love about what I'm doing. I've generated millions of dollars. My husband asked me the other day, he said, honey, since you started your company, how much money have you made? It's like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know, track it, like, create a calculator and go bing, 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 bing. This is what, but I know I do well. And I know I'm in the top income earners in the world, and I do it from the comfort of my home, and I have a wonderful balanced life. So is it possible? Heck yeah, but I would suggest don't only focus on books, focus on other things. Okay, so Daniel's next part of his question is your teaching and coaching very specific as to a step-by-step process that you need to follow in order to become a best-selling author? Yeah, absolutely. It is a step-by-step process. Plus, I'm going to teach you how to make money. So there's a lot to it. Okay, Callie says, if we write more than one book, how do we expand our stories yet reach different audiences with similar messages that inspire and uplift others? How do we expand with book ideas without repeating the same thing? Awesome question, okay? Now, what I love about Callie's question is that, here's the thing, if you're an author, now I know there's some folks that are on this call right now. I've received questions from Bruce, I've received questions from Rick, and I know they have books already out there. But here's the thing that they've probably found, I certainly did, that once you write one book, it's almost like, I don't know, it's like an addiction, a wonderful addiction that you'll want to write another book and another book. So how do you actually create the uniqueness in each book? Well, you've got to have a unique spin. Now, let me give you an example. I'm one woman that has released 11 books into this world, and very likely have hundreds more books within me that I could essentially release over a period of time. And so my first book on being the creator of your destiny really follows an understanding of how, in layman's terms, we're creative and also how we're destructive. So I really dissect things down to very simplistic understandings of how we're creative and how we're destructive. So it's called On Being the Creator of Your Destiny. Then I took it a little step further into another book. And let me talk about the distinctions in a minute, okay? I'm just going to walk through a few of my books and I'll talk about the distinctions as it relates to Callie's question. Then I wrote another book called The 8 Proven Secrets to Smart Success. Why? Because it's like a system. You see, I'm a doer. It's not enough to just study this information. You got to be out there and you got to be doing it, right? You got to be action oriented. You got to be taking action, but knowing what to do. So I thought, well, I'm going to help people get more success or create more success in their lives. So there's 8 proven secrets to smart success. That was the second book that I released. But I also realized as I was going through the process that if you're not determined, if you don't hold on tight to your dream like a dog with a bone, well, you might as well just pack it up and go home, right? So that inspired the next book. And the next book is called Be a Dog with a Bone. Right? So another different spin. Then I wrote a book called Your Destiny Switch, which is my most successful book that I have. Now I have 11 books, as I said. They're in 37 languages, sold in 100 countries. And Your Destiny Switch is called Master Your Key Emotions and Attract the Life of Your Dreams. Because I realized that when you're focusing on your emotions being at a high level, in other words, you're in vibrational alignment with the goods that you desire, you actually feel as if you already have that which you desire, you will attract it. Right? So what are the emotions you need to be feeling in order to attract that which you desire? So there's key emotions. So that's what that book focuses on. And it's all about emotions. It talks about the nature and the power of emotions. It talks about the scale of human emotions, which I created. It talks about methodology. It talks about how to deal with challenging times. It talks about how to put it in play every day. All of that. Okay. Then I wrote a book called The One Thing. Because you know what I also found is, in addition to my own experience of constantly pursuing one thing that's going to really make a big difference in my life, I also found that I was searching for one thing. It was like I was looking for one answer. Like, what is it? What is it that's really going to, bam, it's mean I'm going to have it, right? And really understand it. So that's why I wrote the book, The One Thing, which is the one secret to a totally fulfilling life. And then from there, I wrote a book called 21 Distinctions of Wealth, which is really just focused on money consciousness, attracting abundance into your life. Okay, now I could go on, but you probably get the point, Callie. You just expand on another idea. You don't use the same content over and over again. You might share a similar story. You might reference a story that you wrote in one of your books, but you're just expanding. You're going off in another direction. You're creating another spin or a unique methodology, or it could be a strategy or another understanding. You see, we're always changing. We're always evolving. And so you're very likely going to evolve. Look at Wayne Dyer. How many books did he pump out in his lifetime? What my other good friend and client, Gay Hendricks, I think he's into 30 some odd books, probably upward approaching of 40. Neil Donald Walsh, another client of mine, now he's released, I don't know how many books now, maybe 20 books. So, you know, similar ideas, just another twist, right? Hopefully that helps. Okay, let's go back over to our questions as they continue to pour in here. Isn't this fun? You guys having fun? I'm having a blast. Okay. I'm just laughing at the nice comments too. I won't mention all the nice comments that are coming in, and all those that are sending nice comments, you're welcome. Okay, the editor part was not as important. I know an editor matters, but I wasn't sure about was the agent. I have someone who I'm contacted to, and I know what she needs, huge list. Since I know her, then I will definitely go to her, but was wondering if I should go to others as well. I don't understand that question either, sorry. Ooh. Okay. Okay, cool. All right, great. Y Greenidge, is that how you say your name? Is your first name Y? I've always wondered about that. Could you send me an email or reply to this and just say, is your first name Y? Okay, I want to write a book about millionaires, but I'm not a millionaire. Should I wait until I am one to write, to a millionaire to write? Well, that's a good question, and I'm glad you've asked. Here's my first immediate response is, I would suggest yes, because I believe you should be of integrity, right? You should be authentic. If you're going to be promoting something on how to be something, you should absolutely be that in advance. But if you're writing a book on how to be a millionaire, but you're doing it from an observer point of view, what you believe to be true, and you're very clear and you declare that, then why not? But I would say anyone who's writing a book on how to be a millionaire is probably already a millionaire now. Okay. Now, I did read why Greenidge sent me some of his writing, or her. I don't know why, is a guy or a girl, actually. If you can tell me, that would be wonderful. I did read what you wrote me. I think it was around Christmas time. And I responded to it, actually. And I get what you're saying and totally understand it and totally believe it. From your perspective, I really like what you've written. So I would go with it. I really like it. You're not declaring that you are. And I would absolutely suggest to anyone listening to this, be completely and utterly honest about the truth in everything that you're writing. Because if you're not, it's going to come back and bite you in the behind later anyways, right? Think about that guy who wrote the book, A Million Little Pieces. And he ended up going on Oprah, and that book was wildly successful and really popular. And then people found out afterwards that he made it up. And that didn't go well. I mean, he ended up going back on Oprah, and it was embarrassing for the guy. It was not pretty. So just be honest, and I think you'll be fine. I really like what you've already written in there. Okay, going back over to my emails. All right, great, Dorothy. Dorothy's asking a wonderful question here. What is the average? I'm sorry, I'm laughing at UC's question here. I'm going to get to that one in a minute. Dorothy's asking, what is the average price of ebooks? Okay, great question. I would say average is probably between $1.99 and $9.99, somewhere in between there is pretty much where you'll see a lot of the books. And it's really easy. You can go on Amazon.com and you can see what other books are priced at, but they're quite often in the anywhere between, some are 99 cents and some are $9.99. And so we're not talking about a big difference there. There's an author, Amanda, her name is coming to me. Hawkins? No, Hawking. Oh, what is her name? Hang on a second. I'm just going to do a little quick research here. Okay, she's an ebook author, millionaire, in fact. Amanda is her last name. Hawking. Yeah, it's Amanda Hawking. Okay, so this young woman actually made millions by the time she was a millionaire, by the time she was 26 years of age, and she was promoting her ebooks. Now they're fiction books, and she's a great writer, so she's done really well promoting her ebooks. But I think by the time she was 26, if my memory serves me correctly, she had made about $2 million just selling ebooks. But she was selling them cheap. I remember that was one of the things that I remember her saying, that she was selling them for pretty inexpensive, like 99 cents or $1.99. But remember what I said earlier when I answered Daniel's question? Daniel had asked, is it possible to make 100 grand a year? Hell yeah, it's possible to make 100 grand in an hour. But you've got bigger opportunities with programs and extending beyond books, or not even extending beyond your own brain, your own capacity. There's so many different opportunities. You don't even have to be the one that has the knowledge. I'm going to tell you ways in Bestseller Moneymakers of how to make millions, and you don't even have to be the face of the product or the face of a program. You don't even have to create programs, right? I know plenty of people that have made millions of dollars without selling anything of their own, okay, and they're authors. All right, so lots of cool ways to make money. So many opportunities. Gotta love what I do. Okay, so if you're just getting on and you want to know how to ask a question, just send it to answers@peggymccall.com. Answers@peggymccall.com. And I'll continue to answer any questions that you have here. Got a little bit of time left. Let me just check on the clock. Okay, we're good. All right, so here's a question. It sounds like this program is from the start with the writing process, but includes marketing. I'm hearing people that have started their books and even finished. Many are already monetized, etc. I know the numbers and opportunities available, but I need a push in the how to get started writing. So is this program right for me? Okay, great question. The program is for anyone who has a desire to be an author or is already an author, period. Okay? Because what I'm teaching you is how to be successful as an author. If you're at the point where you're starting to write, absolutely it's for you. If you're at the point where you are, you've already written your books, absolutely this program is for you. If you're at the point where you've written 33 books already, absolutely. So yes, I'm really teaching how to be successful with being an author is really what I'm teaching. So now is the time. And frankly, registration shut down at midnight. So register now if you're interested in being in it. Okay, good. Awesome. Okay, great. So UC's asking a wonderful question. I want to talk about this because I think it's a really important question for a lot of authors. And that is, here's what UC's question is. Why do we feel writing a book is so addictive? Is it because of expanding ideas? You know what? I love that question, UC, and I'm so glad that you've asked that question. I would say that yes, that's part of it. It is expanding your ideas. And I think what it comes from quite often is a willingness to share, you know, something that comes from your heart. You have your own experience and you really want to help people. Like I know in my life, in my world, I love what I do. I get up every morning and I write my gratitude journal and I write often. I'm so happy to do work that I really love, that's deeply meaningful and really makes a difference. And quite often when somebody signs up for my course or I'm working with somebody or I'm blessed to serve someone, I'll get off the call or I'll finish delivering the webinar or I'll do something and I'll just look up and I'll just say, thank you, God. Now, I don't know if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, but the point is, it's not about believing in God or not believing in God. It's just feeling grateful. So why it's addictive is because it's fulfilling. It's fulfilling because you're contributing. You see, it's the giver that gets in this world, right? So when we're an author and we're contributing and we're giving, we're the ones that get. We're getting because we're sharing, right? When you're a kid, you know, we're taught to share, right? My grandson was here on the weekend and his little cousin, who's also 4, came over and they both wanted to play with the same toy. And so we had to discuss with them, you know, the wonderful opportunity of sharing. And then their face lights up. Oh, I get to share? How wonderful. See, that's another one of the many addictive feelings. See, when we do something that feels good, I remember my husband talking about a number of years ago when he got addicted to jogging. And I said to him, what about it? Was it so addictive? And he said, I got addicted to it because it felt good, right? It just felt good. And so that's the thing with being an author. It feels good. It's such a great sense of accomplishment. You're giving, you're contributing, you're sharing. And if you're a fiction writer, you're tapping into something that you're really passionate about. And you're using one of your mental faculties called creativity. It's inspiring. It sort of sets off the, you know, waves of energy in our body that cause us to feel good. So that's a big part of why it's so addictive. Thanks for asking that great question, UC. All right, let's keep going. All right. All right, Dorothy's asking a wonderful question here. What are people seeking now and what are they reading? Awesome question. Okay, I love that Dorothy's asking that question because Dorothy had asked the question a little earlier about food balancing, right? You know, when you think about what's going on in our world, like even with yoga as an example, yoga's become so popular and you know, people taking care of themselves has become so popular and it's so important and a lot more people are becoming health conscious and so there's certain subjects. And let's just talk about this. I'm answering Dorothy's question and I want you all to sort of tap into this, okay? Just sort of move in and listen into this, okay? What are people reading right now? they're reading the same things they were reading years ago, but there might be just a different spin on it, okay? So what's really, really popular, and then there's spin-offs from each one of those categories. So what's really popular are any books that are related to money making, of course, or being abundant or being rich, like Why Greenidge asked the question about millionaire, that kind of thing. That topic is very popular. And so from that category alone, there are many books, you know, on building a business, being a great leader, you know, being a great communicator. So this is like multiple different categories of that one subject area that many authors can tap into. Another area that's extremely popular is in the food area, which diet books, health books, anything that causes, or anything that's body related, you know, so fitness books, right? Weight loss, you know, things like that. Big, 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 big area of success. And so people are reading a lot of books on that. And that could also be things on stress reduction because it's related to the body. It could also be things on eliminating back pain. It could be things on you know, just healthy. Okay, we're talking about food, body. Anyways, anything in that subject area. Another area is relationships, right? Having happy relationships. And so with relationships, there's many different types of books. There are relationships with your significant other. There's relationships on finding your soulmate. There are relationships on with your kids, raising, you know, powerful kids. Relationships with people that have wronged you in the past, you know, could be healing type books. And then there are books that are in the spiritual category, or could also include religious categories, and could include self-help books. And then there's books that are in fiction categories. So just go to Amazon.com, go to the category called books, and you'll see bestsellers, and you'll see what kinds of books that are selling, but pretty much the same types of books have been selling for years. And Dorothy, tell me, what are you going to be writing about? Okay, I'll put on my glasses for the next one here. Okay, good, good. All right, Jacqueline is asking the question. Okay, good, good. Jacqueline's asking several questions. I'm gonna answer them all here. So let me start with the first one. How can I make the writing process more productive? Is it taking me 2 to 3 days for just one chapter? And I'm very, very frustrated with that. Okay, first of all, congratulate yourself for that. That's awesome. I have some people that are pumping out a chapter a week. So if you're doing a chapter in 2 to 3 days, raise your hand up in the air, put it down on your back and go, yay, Jacqueline, good for you. Okay, that's awesome. So how do you make it more productive? Maybe get up every morning and write for an hour. Get up an hour earlier. Just set your alarm clock an hour earlier and get up and write. Or shut off all technology. Like turn off the phone, turn off your iPhone, turn off your email. Don't let anything distract you, and set a timer for 60 minutes and just write until the timer goes off. And even if nothing's coming, just sit there until something comes. It will. Okay, when getting a contract with a publisher, how do they pay the royalties? When do they pay? Once a year, twice a year? Depends on the publisher. Usually twice a year though. Number 3, on getting a contract with a publisher, will it just be about a specific book of mine, or will it be about me and a deadline? Well, let me just stop there for a minute and talk about getting a publisher, okay? I did talk about this earlier in the call. I don't know if you were on the call earlier, Jacqueline, and if not, you can go back and listen to the beginning. But anyone who's thinking about getting a publisher, you got to really know the realities of the publishing world. First of all, there's fewer publishers in today's market than there have ever been. And publishing through a publisher is less attractive to authors, because at the end of the day, it is still the author that has to market the book. You're going to make more money by self-publishing than you are by publishing. Not to say not to pursue a publisher, but publishers won't even look at you, won't even consider you unless you have a giant platform. And we're talking huge platform where you're already reaching tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people. In other words, you're out there, you're a speaker, you've got an email list, you've got followers online and social media sites, you're a big deal. Right? Then they might be interested if they love you and love the book and love the message of the book. Okay, so the chances of getting publishers nowadays a lot slimmer than it's ever been. Okay, and yeah, they'll have a deadline for sure. Okay, so Dorothy is saying, I'm writing about proper food combining for good health and a book on becoming mindful in all that you do. I love it. Awesome. Good for you. I love that. I love that subject area too. I think it's important, you know, because people don't understand about the damage that they can do with food combining by not doing it properly. So that's a book that's definitely required. All right. Okay, I'm just going to answer a couple more questions here. Before I go to that, There's a bunch of questions that keep coming in about the Bestseller Money Makers program. There's a link right on the page. Just go down there. You'll see Bestseller Money Makers. You'll see a link to access, and you can check it out, the program. It is starting today. There are 2 options. You can pay in full or you can go on a payment plan. Those are the 2 options that are available for you. Choose the one that makes the most sense for you. Spoken a bit about taking your readers in mind for offering value. Do you have key questions you use to help you in any way as you put your book together? Yes, I do. And I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but I cover it in the Stick a Fork in It. My book is done. So absolutely. I've got several questions that I use. I'm going to use from one idea to another with that in mind. What is helpful to keep focused while writing about being distracted with other ideas? What you might find, Callie, is, excuse me, what you might find as it relates to if you're getting distracted with other ideas is you might want to open another file and maybe dump some ideas in for another book. I've done that before, where I've worked on one book, but I've been inspired with other books, and I just started 2 books at the same time, or 3 books. And that's not, something I recommend. It's just that if you have a creative mind, which we all do, but if it's overly active and you're thinking about all kinds of ideas, just open a file and just put the idea in so you don't lose it, right? Because if you're thinking, oh, I'll remember that, you might not. So write it down so you definitely have it there. Okay, I think that's really, really key to do so that you can remember it. Okay. All right, so let's see here. All right, so if you're on the call, I've got a few minutes left. We're going to wrap this up in about 8 minutes. And I just want to show you, just because there's so many people asking about the course, let me just do a quick walkthrough here. I'm just going to do a real quick walkthrough. I'm going to come back in a second. So Bestseller Money Makers, real quick, it's for you if you're writing fiction, nonfiction, your first book, your 20th book. We're going to be doing live classes, okay? Now, except you're going to get access to how to get your book done. Not only write it, but how to actually get the book done. Let me do this properly. Then we're going to get into how to sell your book, and whether it's selling your book off your website, making your book an international bestseller, selling your books for a campaign, selling your books continuously. It's all about selling your books. And frankly, if you wrote the book, why wouldn't you do that? And then I'm going to talk about the money-making part, how you can generate perhaps millions of dollars. It's what I've done by creating, or you don't even have to create the products and services. I'll talk to you about how to make money without doing that as well. So twice a week, we're going to have calls. They start tomorrow at noon Eastern time. You don't have to get on the live calls, but you can if you want. I'll record everything, so it'll be available for you. Every class I have open Q&A. There will be a private VIP Facebook page. You can interact with people in the program. You're going to get my action plans, my templates, my checklists, all my PowerPoints. I'll give you all of it. Plus, I'm throwing in the Riches into Abundance program, and it's only $19.97. Money back guarantee, and 30 minutes if you sign up in the next half hour, okay? bestsellermoneymakers.com. Okay, so let's go back while we're doing this right now. Let's go back to live. All right. All right, I have another question here. I'm gonna answer this question, and I'm gonna just wrap it up with some final comments, okay? The question is from Bill, and he says, how long did it take for you to write your first book? Okay, well, I've done 11 books now, and they've all taken different lengths of time. I wrote one book actually pretty much in a day. That was my, I don't know, 9th book, I think, I wrote in one day. My first book, I chose to write it in a period of 1 month. And so what I did was I got up in the mornings earlier than normal. I'd set my alarm, and I'd get up and I'd go and I'd sit at my desk and I would just write for about an hour. And I did that Monday through Friday. I didn't do it on the weekend. I like having my weekends available for family, and I like having my evenings free. I also find that I'm far more creative in the morning than I am in the evening. So I chose to write in the morning. And I did that for the month of October. That's when I wrote my first book. And by the end of October, I had the book written. And as I said, it wasn't that complicated. It was just a matter of really disciplining myself to sit down and write it. And that's what it really takes, for anyone who's looking to do anything, whether you're looking to launch your book, whether you're looking to create a program, whether you're looking to build an email list, or whether you're looking to build a following, whether you're looking to start promoting you as a speaker, author, whatever it is. There's going to be a period of time, that's going to be required, and that you're going to need to invest some time and energy and very likely money in order to get to where you want to go. Now, sometimes I'll hear authors say they have no money. Well, if you don't, you're probably going to struggle. Honestly, you're going to struggle. Now, once you make a decision, and that's the funny thing about money, when you can make a decision to do something, you're going to find the money. See, that's one of the reasons why people don't necessarily need the money, is because they haven't decided they're going to do anything about it. But when you decide, you see, if you're an author, and you've probably heard me say this time and time again, that 5% of your responsibility is completing that book and bringing it out to the market. That's 5% of your responsibility. But if you don't learn how to market it, it's not even, worth the paper you wrote it on. Well, although that's not necessarily true. It's a good thing to do. It is a good thing to do. But I suspect you want to write your book so you can get it out there in the world, right? You want people to read your book. So learning how to market is the smart thing for an author to do. And learning how to effectively market, especially in today's age. When I first started marketing books, it was not easy. It wasn't, necessarily an easy thing to do, but I learned early in the game, I learned how to do it effectively. And I keep honing the skill so that I continue to know how to effectively market books. And I'll tell you, the game's changed. It changed when I started. It was like the year 2002 when I released my first book. Actually, I released 3 books. And it's changed in 2003 and 4 and 5 and 2008 and 2011. And it's changing now. It's changing again. So you got to really stay up with what works. And that's my job. That's why I'm always teaching my classes live, is so that I can help authors get and be successful and get the results that they're looking for. So if that is something that you're interested in doing, then get on over to the Bestseller Moneymakers and you can join the program. We're going to have a phenomenal group of authors. I've already been enjoying the responses from the folks that have already signed up, and they're ready to go and in high gear. And that's one of the fun things about getting into programs where it's live and it's active. I see a lot of programs offered today where it's not live. They're sending you access to some vault where they've got stuff that's stored, and I don't even know when it was recorded. It could be at a date. You know what? You can't be at a date with this stuff, especially when we're talking about marketing online. It's got to be current now, right? So even the Write Your Book program that you're going to get immediate access to when you sign up for this program, I just recorded it a few weeks ago. So it's live, it's accurate. And of course, we're going to be running these 12 classes together. So for those of you that submitted questions, and even if you didn't submit a question, you got some value from the questions that were submitted, we're going to call it a wrap for today. It's been an absolute pleasure to be of service to you. I hope you got some great value, and I hope you follow through with your dreams. And I'd love to see your books out there in the world as well, because when you do, it's a wonderful feeling of accomplishment. And frankly, what it's all about is, doing stuff that we deeply love. That's one of the blessings that I have in my life, is to do work that I deeply love, serving people that are like-minded, that really want to make a difference in the world, and they want to live a nice life, right? I see people going to work every day. I was talking to a woman the other day who was telling me she's going to her job. It's not 9 to 5. I think it's like 7 to 3 or 8 to 4 or something like that. But still, 5 days a week, and she feels like she was in a prison. You know what? I remember that. I remember that feeling, and I would never want to go back there. I'm so blessed to do the work that I do. And it's possible to not only make annual incomes be your monthly income, but it's possible to have your annual incomes become your daily income or a day income. So the possibilities are there. They're for everyone. It doesn't require a specialized degree in anything. It is specialized knowledge for sure, and that's what I'm offering. It doesn't require that you're a certain age or that you are a certain race or religion or any of that. Anyone can do it. And certainly a lot of people out there that are doing it. Okay, so my pleasure to serve you guys. Thank you very much for being here. And I wish you a wonderful day. And get over to Bestseller Moneymakers if you're even feeling compelled to check it out and join us. We're starting tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye for now.